being separate, the experience of the separate I blossoming is probably more beautiful when it doesn't believe its own story about being an actual separate entity. There is an appearance of energy this way as a separate I, unique expression of life, and it can see itself as that expression, but is ultimately also the whole and knows itself as such. Not knowing as it quantifies it, but there's an openness to it which says this is happening, this beautiful unique expression is happening, but it's also always connected with everything. There's no separation in that expression. There is just a uniqueness appearing as a blossoming flower in a forest. The forest is connected. That's the only thing I'm saying here, is that's yes, it is amazing having these experiences of being separate human beings. The sounds and the textures and the nature and the everything that's happening around is part of the same thing, knowing it's the same thing. But this appears with perspective. There are senses that delineate, they decipher shapes and sounds and senses and feelings and smells. This body deciphers those things. So through this body, it creates this kind of quantification, this understanding of what's going on around it. And it's just so that this biology can navigate, stay alive and do what it's got to do. But that's part of this beautiful expression. And in that, there is the propagation of thought and beauty, poetry and art and creativity. Things still happen. It's just opened to being this complete with the experience and expression of being a separate, unique, beautiful, blossoming perspective as part of it. I even hear this conversation, the words and it sounds like there's trying to be explaining, but really it's just play. It's not really trying to explain this, because I don't think I can. I can just see what's not really true. That's the simplest parts is those, as I was saying last week, those crayon strokes that go like that and do a cross. That's not who I am. It feels like that might be who I am. That's the picture of me. It's not really. That's just part of this playing that way. It's just that happened on the stage of life. That happened in the play. That happened in the show, but it's not really what I am. It's just a complete surrender, opening, just being as it is. And if that involves thoughts, that's fine as well. It's just all energy. So it's the only way I can really say it. It's the only way that relaxes the mind to say, oh, okay, I'm not going to get it, am I? No, you're not. You're not going to get it. You're not going to understand it. Because you are part of the you're part of the movement. That whole you thing is part of the movement. You know, it's like saying the ripple in the river is going to understand the river. The ripple's just part of the movement. It's wonderful, unique. The whirlpool that's happening in the river is going, oh, how do I understand what this river's doing? It's like, you're part of it. Actually, by you trying to comprehend it, you're changing it all anyway. So it's because you're part of it. It's just interactive. It just makes it all just a big, beautiful play of life. Beautiful play of energy. And there's just so much joy in that. There's so much happiness in not having to control anything. But in that, it frees up the contracted state and everything flows and does more. It's like creativity and flow happens more because it's just not trying to do it a way that's not really, it's fighting itself. It doesn't make sense. It's struggling. There's turmoil. There's turbulence caused in that story-making mind stuff that doesn't really, it's not really that way anyway. So it's almost, and that's just life doing that. It's still part of life. It's just like, it's just gone into a turbulent eddy for a while in thought, No, that'll do something different somewhere. It'll interact, whatever. It's joyous. It's joyful. It's creative. It's fun. It's liberating. It's liberating from the, as I said, we're not taking away the separate self, really. We're seeing the separate self for what it is. And the separate self can then just be knowing, really, that it is this beautiful, I think you put it beautifully when you were saying it's a beautiful expression, vibrant, unique expression in this. It is. And life is doing that. Life is having that, there's no point in denying that feeling arises in humanity, because it seems to. It's just looking at the complete picture, I suppose, which is no boundary. It's not quantifiable. It doesn't need to be. But it can still appear with all vibrance and beauty. And then the blinkers and the barriers and the separation falls away. And then that appearance is full bore open. Flow. Life flowing from this. Without having to do it any particular way. It's just going to be expressed. It's just expressing. And interacting. And having that perspective, that beautiful flow, as a unique perspective with all its characteristics as a human being, to another supposed, it's there. A human being is there. It's interacting openly. But the stories are crumbling. That's all this is doing, really. The contracted shells, the chrysalis is just dissolving away. So it's just open, just flow, life flowing from this perspective point, this coalesced, unique, independent perspective point in this energy is just doing this and interacting and confused and knowing and then not knowing and then ideaing and then not ideaing and then thinking it's got it and then no, realizing it hasn't, and then judging and going, oh, that's not necessary either. Oh, I just told myself I shouldn't. All of that, whatever, doesn't matter. Whatever appears is okay. It doesn't have to be done any other way.